Alright, welcome back. Today is going to be a talk day. I'm going to get around to actually doing some other content soon, but I had to take a little bit of a break. And I want to talk about something that's uncomfortable for a lot of people to talk about. But as someone who has experienced it a number of times, I kind of feel the need to, because, well, we'll get to that. So, my topic today is recovery and relapse. Now, a lot of people talk about the first one. I saw that Russell Brand is 19 years sober, I think. It's either 13 or 19 years sober today, which congratulations to Russell Brand for that. Absolutely congratulations for that, man. But what happens if you're one of the people who don't get the long run? And that's a discussion that very, very few people have. When you go to AA or really any steps program, they won't even entertain the question. Like, what do I do if I relapse? They're just like, you better make sure you don't. Don't relapse no matter what. And that fear does not help anyone. If they are the kind of person, like I'm that kind of person, they do eventually relapse. They quit. I was sober for almost 4 years. Then the pandemic happened. I relapsed. A lot of people did. I've had 3 sober ups since then. Longest one was about 3 or 4 months. Shortest one was 3 or 4 weeks. But nobody really prepares you for that, because when you're in the steps, you're basically taught never to even think about it. Never even think about the possibility that you're going to relapse. Oh, excuse me. Kale. But some people do. And people respond different ways. One of my friends, he relapsed. He was a heroin addict. He was clean for, I think, 3 years, 2 or 3 years. Had a daughter and everything. He relapsed. It was at the beginning of the fentanyl scare. He didn't think that it was a problem here yet, and he was wrong. And he overdosed because he took what he thought was a normal dose of heroin, and it was not a normal dose of heroin. And then there are other people who relapse. And I know this is a touchy subject in my circles, because if you follow my other channel where I talk about more dicey, risky subjects as far as YouTube algorithm goes and being deplatformed, you know that I hang out in libertarian circles. And one common thing that goes around libertarian circles is the idea that Anthony Bourdain was suicided because he was working on some documentary with Chris Cornell and Chester Benningfield. Benningfield? I think so. And that's not true. It's just not true. They weren't working on a documentary together. Sometimes people who act happy die. They take their own lives. That's what Robin Williams said. That the people who work the hardest to make other people smile have like the most broken souls. I know that's a terrible paraphrasing of what he actually said, but yeah, some sentiment to that. And I really do believe that Anthony Bourdain killed himself. I believe that Anthony Bourdain took his own life. On top of the fact that his wife was cheating on him with like barely legal men publicly, he was also starting to show signs of relapse. And this is where the problem with the STEPS program comes in, and them refusing to entertain the idea that you might be one of the people who does relapse, and you need to be prepared for that, and they won't prepare you for it at all. And they basically just tell you if you relapse, you're going to die. If you relapse, you're going to die. You're going to be the same piece of you know what that you were before. Everything's going to fall back apart. Your life's going to be ruined again. You can't let yourself relapse no matter what. That mentality is exactly why Anthony Bourdain, he was and is one of my heroes. Absolutely one of my heroes. I love the man's work. I love how he exposed the kitchen culture back in the day, and how his expose of kitchen culture led to better kitchen cultures, and the idea of an open window kitchen where you can watch your food being made and you can see who's making it and what they're doing. Beyond that, he was a fantastic cook. I watched this show all the time, and he was a very curious and cultured individual. But he had no idea what to do when he got to that moment he was driven to. And Anthony Bourdain decided the booze isn't enough, because he never completely cleaned up. He still drank. But he decided, I would rather take my own life than fall back into my old addictions like heroin or crack. I think that he actually smoked crack for a while too. And that's sad. That's really sad, because there are plenty of people who do relapse and they're fine. But it's that fear mongering that they give you in the STEPS program, this insecurity that they develop in you when you are your most insecure, which is when you've broken down, you've decided things are going to change, I'm getting in the program, I'm going to do the work. And that's when you are the most vulnerable to be indoctrinated by the people in the group around you. And people in the STEPS programs take that time to indoctrinate you with the most dangerous thought that you can put in an addict's head, is that no matter how long you stay clean, if you ever relapse, you're going to go back to the exact same junkie that you were before you cleaned up. And that is a lie. That is a lie. I am here to tell you right now, that is a lie. There are some people who are going to do that, but that is your choice. That isn't your addiction's choice. Your addiction's choice is you're going to drink this, you're going to shoot this up, you're going to do whatever. You decide whether or not you are going to be a good or a bad person when that happens. And that's my chiefest gripe with the STEPS programs, is that none of them tell you that. None of them tell you, hey, addiction, it's a biochemical thing, but who you are, that's a neurological, psychological thing, and you can be an addict and be a good person. But you have to work to be a good person. You can still be an addict. You might relapse one day. You might need to sober up to do that work to become a better person. But if you did that work, relapsing is not going to undo all of that work, unless you choose to let it do that. So, I'm on my 4th relapse. I'm in a sober where I felt like I was drinking way too much. So I'm intentionally ratcheting myself down to make sure that I don't get past that point again. And I wish someone had told Anthony Bourdain that. I wish someone had been honest with him about what sobriety and being a better person is, and how the two are not directly related, and how he could have still had a good life even if he had shot up like 10 more times or 100 more times. Doesn't really matter. As long as he was alive, he had money, he could travel, he could do good things and be a good person. But he had been taught you can't relapse and still be a good person, because that's what the STEPS programs teach us. And it reminds me of a quote from Winston Churchill. Say what you want to about him. I understand he was a prejudiced person, but he was also a military genius. And, deeply complex people tend to have bad characteristics somewhere floating around in their psyche. And it could be misattributed to Winston Churchill too. But it is, success is not final. Failure is not fatal. It is the courage to continue that matters. And you have to have that mindset when this day comes for you, if this day comes for you. Because there's no certainty that you're going to relapse. Like I said, Russell is on his, I think, 19th year of sobriety. I have to go back and double check that. But, there's no guarantee that he's ever going to relapse in the future. And you know what? He probably has already done the internal work to make sure that if he does relapse, he's going to be okay. And eventually he's going to sober up again, and he might relapse again, but eventually he's going to sober up again. And thus is just the cycle of life, man. As long as you aren't hurting other people and you're like minimizing your harm to yourself, who cares? Because everyone harms themselves every day. From the things that we decide to drink, and I'm not just talking about alcohol, I'm talking about soda and saccharin and all these things that we consume, the food that we eat, we smoke cigarettes, we vape, we drink coffee, we all do things that hurt our bodies on a daily basis. We breathe. Have you ever heard of oxidization? There's a reason you're supposed to drink and eat antioxidant food, because breathing is even bad for your health. But you need to have that mentality if that day ever comes for you. I want you to know that there are options other than taking your own life to prevent your relapse. That is 100% a choice. Please choose to live and be slightly intoxicated or whatever amount of intoxicated. Choose to live to fight another day. Your success might not be final, but your failure might not be fatal. But it is fatal if you decide to take your own life if that happens. So anyway, I just want to get that off my chest. I've been thinking about it a lot this weekend. I was down in Charleston checking out the Angel Oak tree. That's another reason why I haven't put up any content in the past couple of days. But yeah, I just wanted to get that out there because, it doesn't have to be the end. Relapse is not the end of your life. Just take it a step at a time. Not the way that you were taught in the STEPS program, but take it just a day at a time. Make sure that you are the person you want to be. If you relapse and your addiction starts getting in the way of that, start ratcheting back your addiction. Make sure that you're maintaining that balance. But it is not the end of the world. And someone needs to start teaching that. Alright, I will get some more content out soon. Until then, be notorious.